Welcome to the Devil's Podcast. I'm HeYamin.
I'm Andromeda.
And today we're talking about sigils.
Yes, Jules.
Sigils. I mean, we can get started with, just the basics of what we're, I guess, like where the discussion is leading.
Yeah.
I don't, do you want to start it? You want me to start it off? Or?
You can start it.
Okay. So like for me, my beginning practice with sigils was candle spells and making sigils to connect with energies and for spell purposes. Like we were talking about books beforehand, and we'll get into books too.
Mm-hmm.
But Practical Sigil Magic by Frater UD, I believe it is. He in that book, explains multiple basic ways. It's just like super basic. I was actually before this looking at other books on thrift books that just there's a wealth of information out there about sigils. And I'm just saying that now because you should definitely, if you're not working with sigils, your practice will only get better and better if you do. And there's so many different ways to do sigils. There's so many different practices with sigils. There's so many different ways you can use them. I mostly use them for conjuration, summoning, working with beings. Now, at this point, I use them, I use runes. I use bind runes or rune binds to do magic based on using the currents of the runes and the runes themselves, and practice with that. And I really like that work. And I, with my sigils, my personal sigils that I use to summon beings, or personal sigils I use to, open portals, etc. I use those. Those are just my based on what I know of how sigils work and how I work with the energies and how I work with that stuff. So, not without going into too much detail on what I'm doing. We can use sigils in so many ways, and there's so many places. Like just looking through the Goetia symbols, or looking through old symbols of, and this is not just saying grimoire magic. I mean, like, you can look through books that house, sigil families, people, beings, etc., like purposes. Like if you're looking at Grimoire Verum or True Grimoire, and you look at the differences between those types of sigils, like what Jake Stratton Kent writes about in True Grimoire, or the Goetia or Lesser Key or Solomonic work, or even getting into other forms of like summoning angels, looking at Enochian work if you're interested in that, or looking at other angel magic means. There's so many ways, and it's so and just to say this, it's so easy to draw up a sigil and summon a being based on your connection to the sigil and the work and what have you. But the more you use the sigil, the more it empowers it, the more you empower your work. And those are just some of the basics I would go over in that. I think it's, using sigils based on creating a need. Like, I want this to happen, so I create a sigil based on what I want to happen, whatever way that works for you. Mm-hmm. It's a symbol of your connection to the thing you're trying to obtain or the thing you're trying to do, and that thing. It's the link in whatever form you create them.
Yep, I think of them as batteries.
Yeah, they're resonators.
Yes.
Yeah.
I started out. Well, I came across some videos on Witch Talk, actually, about people making sigils and how they created them. And I kind of delved into it because there's a lot of ways people say you can like write out a phrase and then take out all of the vowels and cross off the extra letters, and then whatever you have, you create your sigil with it. And then there's another one that's kind of like a clock face, and you basically take the same formula, and then you put those remaining letters around the sides where the numbers of the clock face would be, and you draw your lines. So there's all sorts of different techniques that I was trying, and it's so funny because they were kind of working, but I was also like, this seems like it's surface level. And so I started searching better, or deeper. Deeper. Not better.
Not better.
Well, it got better.
Yeah.
And I actually came across Laura Tempest Zakroff's book, Sigil. Oh my gosh.
Sigil Witchery.
Sigil Witchery. I always forget the name of the book.
Yeah.
And it really changed my view about how sigils should be created, because it was so intuitive. And I'm already an artist. Like, I've always been very artistic in my approach to anything. So it felt very natural to switch from the trying to create sigils out of, letters, or out of the lines created by the clock face, and instead kind of meditate on the emotion and the feeling and what kind of imagery came from that. And then creating these sigils, it really changed the game for me. It really changed how I approached sigil making in the first place. And also long term, working with them, just there's so many different approaches you can take when you come at that from an artistic and intuitive space, because it really does change how you create your sigils.
Yeah, and it's when you're doing it in that modality, that means you're creating more symbolism than you are, because even in the Futhark system, there's a means for creating sigils based on having the Futhark in a circle, and you draw lines between which ones you're connecting. And that's not like the most practiced one, but there's so many different ways to do it. And even in there's a book, Solomonic Pentacles, by Imrez. I have it somewhere. It's not out here. It's a good book. It goes through like all of the... on Etsy, he's the Acoustic Alchemist. He sells his books. So just look up Pentacles of Solomon, pretty popular book. And in that, it shows you how to make your own Solomonic talisman sigil pentacle things. And it's really great. I got the book like around the time it came out, and I was just like, it was such a wealth of knowledge. I mean, it's all focused on Solomonic work, but I thought it was great, and it's more of like not lesser key stuff. It's more of like I think the greater key work, where you're working with the different pentacles of the planets for the different purposes. And he shows, because there was less known about planets back then, so he added some of his own, and then he shows you how to make them. And there's like grid systems. There's tons of stuff where you have the squares, and you draw things up, and you add. And it does get intuitive when you get into, I think like there's a lot of stuff to get people started in witchcraft books. Like there's a lot of Llewellyn books. There's a lot of Weiser books that get people started in work. But you want to go deeper. You have to put in the practice and figure it out for yourself for the most part. But it's all good starting. There's so many good starting points, and there's so much out there. There's so many wealths of knowledge, but you can only read so much before you need to practice, or find a teacher, or what have you, because there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't get written in the same way, because a lot of people, occult means secret, occult, like, and sacred means secret too. It's we keep things. A lot of people, keep their magic, most of their magic to themselves, not because it's like bad to talk about it, but it's just, It's one of those things. It's normal.
Because it's sacred.
Yeah, it's sacred.
Yeah.
It's an act between you and the rest of the universe, or, the devil, or Satan, or God, or or Yahweh, or Yod He Vav He, or Lilith or Lucifer.
Yeah.
Draconians. Anyways, but like when I practice sigil work now, I scry most of the sigils that I get. They usually come to me that way. They come to me in dreams too. I mean, that's been. There's one way that I sign HeYamin when I sign things, and that came to me in a dream, and it's a sigil. It's basically a sigil. It's based on cuneiform, but I got it in a dream. And but it's not like cuneiform. Like in the dream, it made more sense, like how it was tied to cuneiform. But it's not like when you look at it, it's not. But it was in the dream. It was like it made so much sense. But I woke up and I signed my name down on a piece of paper with it, and I was like, oh wow. But anyways, like, and sigil magic is so broad because it can be so simple. And then it can be so complex. Like you can take the most basic sigil possible that you've divined in some way, whether you invoked a being and asked them to help you automatic write a sigil, or you scried it, or you just came up with it on your own. Or you looked for signs in the world, like there was a stick lying on the ground in a certain position, so you drew that down, and then you walked some more, and then you saw like the shape of something in it, and that's a way I've gotten sigils that way too, where I saw things like on the ground in a certain way, and I'm like, whoa, and I drew it down. I love stuff like that because that's the natural world just handing you stuff, and I've used them, and I've had I summoned Neshama with a sigil that she didn't really like so much one time, and I never did that again because that was terrifying. And I love Neshama, and Neshama and I have a really good working relationship, and I would never summon her that way. But I also realized I saw it in another grimoire, and I had seen it in real life somewhere, and then I was like, oh, that would be perfect for Neshama. And then I had seen it in a grimoire also, but I didn't remember that until after I had summoned her, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's not the form I should be working with here.
Yeah.
But and it's trial and error. I think what's the guy's name? He talked at the event that I was at, but he talked that night.
Oh, I cannot remember.
I don't remember his name. He does magical experiments. He on his website, if I could remember it, on what his name is. I feel bad.
It's so bad. I know
yeah,
who you're talking about.
I can see him in my mind, and I'm just like, oh, can't remember his name. But yeah. He runs magical experiments, and one of the things he talks about with that stuff is that what if you take a sigil, a couple lines in a sigil, and you move them around into a different place. He has like 50 books. He has so many books. He's in the same, he's in the Pacific Northwest like we are. So I opened an event talking at an event that he closed. He was the last person speaking. And I don't know why I can't remember his name right now. I would, of course, remember it otherwise, but, anyways. But that kind of stuff is also important. I mean, when you're working with any type of sigil work that's like, old sigils or resonances that you're connecting to, once you establish connection, and this is for conjuration purposes, like once you establish connection, you have to find your means to summon them on your own. Like you have to have your own sigils. And I'm not saying like, oh, you got to do it, but they're just going to come to you, and you want to write them down. You want to keep those. Like, I mean, I was working on a project, and every night I was scrying for like an hour and a half, and I was getting sigil after sigil, and I'd have to write them down and be like, okay, like maybe this is this person, and maybe this is that person. And, and I have this like full on list of, and I think a lot of people have that kind of stuff. I don't think it's talked about much, but I think it's one of those things where it's like, it's normal to, when you connect with beings at a certain level, they're gonna grant you access to different parts of themselves through that. Um, I know you have some experience with that, but yeah, I, that's
Yeah,
just
yeah. I was gonna say something, and I lost it.
after some digging. Taylor Elwood. I had
Yeah.
to I had to say it. So if you look up magical experiments, you can look at his stuff. But yeah, like that kind of work with sigil magic is so important because, and not saying you should go around and change every sigil around if it's working for you,
Mhm.
but what's not to, with, I mean, sigils themselves are experiments.
Yeah, I think that they're very connected to your own psychology. I think that when you're creating a sigil, you're changing your own view, and you're working like within your own self. So it's like a psychological change in the way that you perceive things, and it allows you to shift your perspectives.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can change your approach to a situation, so that maybe you were trying to, run at this brick wall that you were like, if I just try hard enough, I can push through or climb over it. And then you create the sigil, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, how wide is this wall? Can I walk around it? You walk, 10 feet down one way, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, the wall ends right here. I could have walked around the whole time. So I think that's a kind of an interesting take on it, because I know I try to brute force my way through things a lot of times, but then when I sit there and meditate with a sigil, it changes my perspective, and I'm able to find a new way to go about certain situations.
Yeah, and that's I've seen how you use sigils in your work too, and yeah, I totally see that, and I get what you mean about it being a battery to what we talked about earlier, because like the way that I look at it is like we're taking on resonators. We're allowing a frequency that is in the form of these lines put together and these curvatures and all this stuff, so that we can elevate our own consciousness. Like when like I work with Asmodeus a lot, and I have a really good working relationship with Asmodeus. And, well, it's more than a working relationship, but it's like I connect with him really well. And when I use his sigils, he has showed me a way to, like, bring the sigil into my body and elevate my energy. And as like Richard talks about, that we're using, if you're using the consecrated circle and you're going about, working with the sigils to elevate your frequency, and you're doing all this stuff in grimoire magic, that you're, these resonators are turning up the dial. And this is my own explanation of it and experience. You're turning up the dial of your own frequency so you can raise up to a point where you can have communion. Like when you're connecting with, like, say, a holy guardian angel. If you had a sigil to connect to your holy guardian angel, and you sat and meditated on it for probably hours a day, and you're sitting there with it and you're meditating on it, and you're elevating up higher and higher and higher, so you can have communion, the vision and the voice. You're having the ability to see and communicate. Though with certain things, we're connecting to currents of energies with, like, with everything, but with certain beings, we're connecting to a wide current. We're raising our frequency to almost dive into the waters of the current, and be able to navigate it, and they stay, that stays for a prolonged period. And the more you elevate your own consciousness and your physical form, your matter, and your psychological aspects, and your spiritual being, the body, the energetic body that you have, when you're elevating all these things up higher and higher to connect. And we're using if we're, like you're saying, with finding a new way to do the thing, and you're running into the wall over and over again, beating your head against a brick wall. You're elevating yourself to see it differently, or to act differently, or to move differently, or see the problem through a new lens, or even see the problem is not a problem at all, and you've been confused the entire time.
Yeah. The door is marked pull, and you've been pushing.
Upwards.
Yeah.
You've been trying to slide it up.
Yeah. You can also,
like a window.
Yeah. You can also use your sigils in a lot of very inventive ways. I know people who have an online presence will oftentimes create sigils that they draw on their computer screens with a cleaner. Or you can draw them on your mirrors, so that if you're struggling with body image or negative self-talk, you can draw a sigil on your mirror, and those are created to be destroyed. So you draw it on with your Windex or your window cleaner or whatever you're using, and then wipe it off. And in that process, you're allowing yourself to see yourself in a different way. A ways back, I used to draw a lot of sigils on my soap, and then when I would get through the soap, I would deem it as completed, as the process was completed. And there's so many different things you can use sigils on when you really look at it. Like in your water, in your coffee, you can draw a sigil on the back of your phone and then put it in the phone case. There's like a plethora of things you can do to empower yourself, change the world around you. A book that I really like, I've not completed it. I got too busy and then I never came back to it, was Weaving Fate by Aidan Watcher. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Wacchter. I always want to call him Watcher. But the whole premise of his book is that it's a psychological practice. You're allowed to weave your own fate as you create these sigils. And he also includes a lot of very profound magical practices in the book. I've skipped through it, and there's some very interesting magical processes that he goes through that you continue for months and even years. And it in this process, not only does he consider you to be changing your fate, your future, but you're also changing the past version of yourself. And that book inspired me to do some spell work involving my past. And when I did that, it made me view the event that I worked on in a completely different light. And it made me feel, where in the past I had felt so depleted and broken by this event, now when I think of it, I look back and I'm like, look at what I did to help myself through that time. And it empowered me very profoundly. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've also, used, when doing candle spells, say like a 7-day candle spell, where I'm using the candle and I have the sigil drawn on the novena or what have you. I'm doing my work with it every day. And while it's burning out, I'm pouring the wax into a small dish. And I let the wax, not even an inch thick, of course, just enough, in a dish small enough to where it'll make a circle, but you can break it off. And when I have the sigil on there, so when the wax hardens, I carve into the sigil, or carve into the wax that I've saved from the spell. I carve the sigil into it, and then I take the discs and I keep doing that over and over again. I did that, and it was very, very, impactful. And it it will there's a lot of things you can do with it, but I used the waxes for a while, and I kept charging them. It kept the spell going, for a prolonged period, and then I ended up having to melt the wax and release everything. And you want to make sure you do that,
Yeah.
But I had a lot of those, wax discs that I was using for a while, and they talk about in like some grimoire traditions, like you make the seals, you make the seals out of wax. There's different ones that you make out of wax, and you have to make it under the virgin moon during the men's cycle or something. I have no idea, but that was a joke. But yeah. Anyways, so like there's tons of stuff you can do that's not just like making the sigil, because making sigils is like an art of its own, and everybody finds their own path with it. Everybody finds their own method of using it. Just like with any magic, we're always finding our own method of utilizing our magical taste.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I use meditation in so much of my magic because that was first what I did, and I got to the point where I could, do things with meditation that were just astounding. And it's not like I just, I only meditate. That's not the thing. It's like I use all of my magical skills that I've learned with meditation, and it has empowered me to the point where I can do some pretty astounding stuff within the realms of my work. And that's just to say, like, that's my own thing that I do, especially with my draconian work. And I know that's a normal thing in draconian work, is to meditate a lot, but it's not it's nothing new. But it's I have my own thing that I do with that stuff, and it allows me to truly access more and more of my ability as a spiritual, magical, psychic being, even physically. And sigil work can amplify that in so many ways, but also, in finding, some people, start where you can, because some people can, in magic, all they can start with is, doing sigil work,
Mm-hmm.
or doing something simple as intention and writing things down. And there's nothing wrong with that. So.
It's a very easy practice to maintain when you don't want to be outed, when you don't want other people to figure out what you're doing, because you can use perfume, you can use oils, you can use even just salt water. There's so many different things you can use. And something that I do, and I discovered this as I started doing energy work and practicing with mudras, is that I will envision the sigil as if I'm taking energy and putting it in my hands, and then empowering an item with that sigil by just placing my hands on it and placing the sigil inside of it. And it is empowering an object or an item as a talisman of sorts. So necklaces, jewelry, different things like that. Even when I want to protect my children, and just little things like that, where I'm just working, and it seems as though I'm not doing much of anything. I'm just holding an item for a few moments or something like that. But it is working magically, and it changes things it can change things very profoundly. I know I did some work with my youngest daughter. She was having some mental health struggles, and I worked with her for quite a while, and it worked. It changed her, like her outlook changed, and it maybe you could consider that to be her own outlook, but I know as I was working through this process with her, I could see I would do something and she would respond. And it was a really, really beautiful thing to witness, actually.
Yeah, and there's like, just like energy, you can create a sigil and send it to someone, you know, like Andromeda is talking about. You can literally do some pretty amazing things and really help people if that's what you're seeking. You know, there's a lot of things you can do to project. Like, I mean, when working with runes, you can project the runes into space and into places, and you know, you're putting the magic into stuff. You're not just like doing this for no reason. You know, you're putting your intent and will into something. And some people need that to be a physical item. I mean, most people do. But when it's like you're just putting the energy into, and the intent and will and desire, etc., into the act of creating the sigil and then projecting the sigil into the space. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. And I mean, you can use them to, you know, for protection. You can use them for anything you want.
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally astrally use these things just so intensely. There's so much that can be done. And yeah, it's a lot of fun too, because creating stuff, like I get very excited when I'm like, oh, this is new and inventive to me. I've never seen anybody do this before.
Yes.
You know, I get so excited. And it's like, I just don't like, and I think that's one of the reasons why people don't usually tell people things.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, it's you know, personal practice and sacred to oneself. And there's so much that you can do as a beginner, and then, you know, going forward. And it's one of those practices that can move very quickly into being an advanced practice. If you couple it with all the other things you're already good at. I mean, if you're, you know, if you're sign a lot of papers, you add it into your signature. You know, if you, I don't even know, like,
when I was buying my car, it was taking all day. I had worked all night because I was a caregiver, so death doula. And I worked with this client all night who was really struggling. And then I went the very next day, straight in, no time to sleep. And it was just taking hours. And I knew I was going to get the car, but it was just taking so long. And they had a desk calendar, and I had a gel pen. It was a pink gel pen. And I drew a sigil on their desk calendar, and within the hour, I had my car.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a loss for like ideas. So like, I had a bunch of ideas, and then when I said the first one, I lost the rest.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's like so many ways, and you can use them, you know, ingeniously. There's so much you can do with it. Like, and any person who does something every day will find a way. You know, carry it in your pocket, or put it in your shoe, or you know, something that it's with you. Don't really tattoo it, but you can draw it on your skin if you want.
I mean, I have tattooed, you know,
Yeah.
other people. I know Laura Tempest Sackroff talks about how she has tattooed several sigils onto herself. And there's a plethora of things. Like, obviously, you want to make very sure that this is a like deep symbology that's going to carry you through your life.
Yeah.
And I know if I ever write the book that people tell me I need to be writing, I'm definitely going to be talking about that, because my tattoo has changed the direction of my life. And it's something that I would definitely want to share with others on how you could create it, how you could work with it, because you're not just tattooing it and then forgetting about it, or just, you know, anointing it. You're physically and mentally and psychologically working with this piece of art that is tattooed indelibly onto your skin. And you definitely want to make sure that works, because if you're taking a sigil that you just created out of the blue and you're like, okay, let's do it, you're going to have some issues. I know I had a friend who had tattooed a Lilith sigil onto her arm, didn't really think about it. She was like, oh, that's really cool. I want it as a tattoo. Well, unbeknownst to her, she angered Lilith because she didn't give her offering. She wasn't planning to work with her. She just did it. And, you know, over the course of a couple years, her life really kind of escalated into this point of where she kind of had a reckoning of, oh, I have to work with Lilith now, and this is a lifelong process because of what I did. So you need to make sure you're owning up to what you're choosing to do in the moment, and be prepared to carry it forward.
Yeah. And I don't know why. I mean, I work with Lilith, and I don't even think it would be a good idea to get a Lilith sigil tattooed on me. I mean, I'd like to. There's some stuff I'd like to get, but I got one tattoo, and I didn't plan on getting any more, really. I have my meaningful tattoo, and I don't really need much more than that.
I have many tattoos, and I plan to get many more.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there's so much that you can do. There's so much growth to have from practicing sigils. I mean, and don't feel like you have to conjure beings or do anything like that, like summon anyone. You know, you don't have to go into the grimoires and do stuff that you don't feel comfortable with. You can literally just, if you like working with archangels, you can draw an archangel sigil down and pray with it, or you can use it in so many different ways. You can use it there's so many different, there's even in some of the grimoires they have like the sigils for the holy guardian angels that are based on in art of theurgy, I think, in the lesser key system. There's a whole part where they have all of the holy guardian angels that the system has, and they have sigils that you can make, and you use them for, I think it's like 30 days or something, and you burn them, of course, when you're done, and you just draw them on paper front and back. But you can literally just pick that out, and just to start working with a being, if you feel comfortable with angels and not demons, you can do that, and then you just pray with it, and you can get, a chaplet or whatever you want and pray the chaplet. That's just one thing you can do with a sigil. I mean, I put a lot of blood on things, so I put blood on sigils. I activate them. I mean, that's how my draconian practice started, and that's how it's going to go. Cause, and
you can use saliva.
Yeah, you can use saliva
with blood.
Yeah.
Something I do is I'll use permanent marker to draw a sigil on my arm or something else, and then work with that being during the time that mark is still on my arm.
Yeah.
And then when it fades, that means the process is complete.
Yeah.
But I noticed as I've continued my practice, they prefer me to use a cedar wood stick that I've burnt into ash, or something similar, where I'm using the ash of Palo Santo for some spirits from certain regions, or the cedar or sage or something like that, and you're using that ash to draw onto your wrist or your arm, and it is kind of like a magical presence that lingers for a period of time, and I found it to be much more effective than the marker, although the marker does work.
Yeah, and I use for runes and stuff, I use something to draw them on, but you can also, with runes or a sigil or whatever, you can draw a few of them and activate them, whether it's runes or sigils or what have you, and draw them on virgin parchment or paper or whatever, and burn them, and take the ash and draw on yourself with the ash, because I've done that too.
I just use sticky notes if I'm out, when I was at school. A lot of the times I would have a sigil come to mind that I needed to work with, and I needed to draw it right now, and so I would draw on the sticky note and then, stick it on my tablet or on my phone or something like that, so I'd have it there.
Yeah.
And just use it, so it's quick and easy.
Yeah, there's a lot that can be done. I know we covered a lot of different things. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a doozy of
There's
information.
There's so much.
We'll probably have to cover this again because there's just
I feel like there's more. I had so much, and I was just like, I can't even remember half of what I was.
We were just like spitballing back and forth off each other with ideas. It's just like, there's so much. But yeah, what deck do you have?
I have the Night Visions Tarot. I do not know who this is by.
Prisma Visions.
Prisma Visions. Okay. And I drew. It's quite funny. I drew the World, Death, and the Star. And the World card. This deck is actually very interesting because when you lay out the suits, they create a picture, and it's just kind of a process as you're going through the deck. And it's all in black and white. And in the World card, you have a peacock under a moon, and then you have a lion racing after a dove. And I think that symbology is so accurate because the peacock is so symbolic of the universe in Christianity, Islam, Hindu, even in Greece. The eyes on the peacock's feather symbolizes the universe, the swirling of the stars throughout the universe. And then with the lion racing after the dove, it's kind of like that reckless, rushing energy, and then the peace at the same time. So it feels very symbolic of the nature of the universe, of that raging, rushing, roaring energy while also having the peace. And then in Death, it's got a skeleton hand holding a white rose, and it's spitting out some type of liquid from the rose. It's very interesting because it's kind of like that rejuvenating factor of releasing in the process of death. And in the Star, you have a woman. It's in the base, it's like an exploding star. And I've never been able to understand what this picture is. It almost looks like a ram or something, but there's an explosion over top of it. And you have these sprays of light coming out and the stars, and this shadow woman like either being sucked in or pushed out, and she's being carried along. And the world is symbolic of the end of a karmic cycle. And with death coming immediately after that, it feels like it's saying it's the end of the karmic cycle. It's time to release and rejuvenate. And the Star, I know a lot of people say that the Star is about travel, about moving, but to me it also symbolizes healing. In a lot of cards, in a lot of decks, you have the woman pouring water out, and she often has one foot in the water, one foot on land, and so it's a psychic energy bridging the gap. And it is about traveling the hedge, but also about rejuvenating energy in that water. And so it really feels like this cycle of it's the end, and it's time to release and rejuvenate before you move forward.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I
feel like I can't do this deck justice because there's so much symbolically in each card that it's hard to do the reading justice. I could spend a whole hour just delving into the meaning and symbology on each card.
Yeah. These cards are gorgeous.
Yes.
I got them for you. So
yeah, Christmas present.
Yeah, I can brag about it because they're really beautiful. They've got the gilded red edge too.
Yeah, it's all black and white, and it has an extra card that's called Midnight. And if you get that card, it's to say, now is the time to do something.
Yeah, it's like the fate rune.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're going to call it here. If you, all of our links are down below, or in our bio on YouTube, because we're on YouTube. That's where, we started this. Even though we're on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, which we're doing video on YouTube and Spotify. I haven't seen the others, so I don't know if it's video on there. But if you want to watch the video, it's not like us on the video. It's it's a video that I took of me doing some magical work with smoke and some candles and stuff.
Sometimes you'll get a video
Yeah,
of us.
sometimes like with Mark's episode, there was a video. With a special episode that's coming up soon, there will probably be another video.
Yes. We'll see how that goes.
We'll see how that goes. And it's going to be a good episode either way.
Yes.
So if you are interested, Andromeda's got malas on Etsy. I've got a plethora of things that I'm selling on Etsy. We've said plethora so many times in this episode. And you can check out my website, HeYaminNeshama.com. Also on Free Occult Courses, my YouTube. I'm running it's going to be running forever as long as YouTube exists. The Free Occult Courses first course, which is the Not Your Cult's Energy Work based on my cult, based on my book, Not Your Cult's Energy Work, not my cult. I don't have a cult, I promise.
We swear.
Yeah, I swear. No, so like if you want to check that out, it's completely for free. So if you want to go deeper, there's the book, but there's videos coming out that are talking about each of the exercises, and all of the exercises are already out. So if you want to run the exercises, go for it, have fun. So that's there. That's the HeYamin Neshama or Free Occult Courses. Back to our stuff. I think I covered all the link things because we have just Etsy and stuff.
Ask questions.
If you like this, go ahead and like it if you're interested. If you really like this, you want more, you can subscribe. And
ask questions.
Yeah.
Always be curious. Questions help us frame our new episodes so that we can answer those questions.
Yeah.
Like not specifically, but in
we,
a broad sense.
we try to get to the questions as much as possible.
Yes.
And I always heart them. So,
Mm-hmm.
And we read every one. We reread every comment,
Yes.
and we're grateful for all the people commenting and all the people watching and all the people enjoying this, because it's awesome that people are liking this and coming back and watching more of it, because we really enjoy doing it. It's fun.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. So anything else? I think I covered all the bases. So thank you very much. And as always, the darkness in me sees and honors the darkness in you. Thank you. This has been the Devils Podcast.